the way God has created us, and He created Moses in His likeness, and it was really complete. But now, when it comes to the reality of the kingdom, He started to broaden the importance of what is given man, because one is he never started with religion, or giving a man a religion, because he wanted him to depend upon kingdom mandate. And we cannot have kingdom mandate without kingdom principles, and we cannot have kingdom principles without kingdom economics. So when we vary it in a different form, is that the world have stolen what God has established and then take the ownership. And once we as the children of God, we really set back, and immediately when we set back, we're giving the world the ability and the ammunition to control what God has given us. Even the politicians will say the land belongs to us, but they forgot that God is the one who has given first to Adam, and then He said to him, I'm giving you this kingdom principle so that you can live with them. And then now the world is manipulating what God has given unto us. I always say to many people, when you go back a little bit, the reason why God started to bless Adam and Eve and make sure that at the end of the day they live their life in the fullness, but now because of they were not sure, even their decisions, they were not sure. When we come back to Christians, they have this mind that now we serve God with our heart, but now in terms of what He has given us, we have the limitations. That is why all the times we'll dream big, and then we'll try to give it back to the people that are having so-called resources. And when they are having resources, then we have the limitations. But if you can look back, is that all the minds, all the concepts, you came with the concept. You came with the mandate that God has given you. But because of the lack, you end up giving up. Saying, no, I cannot do it because of 1, 2, 3, 4. And the two things maybe to say it so we can just understand something here. I learned something when Adam and Eve passes, and then now God created Noah, and then He said to him, now, Noah, I don't need you to go back to dwell to the ground. He said that to him, and that's a show. You don't need to go back to the ground. And he kissed the ground first, because He gave them kingdom mandate, kingdom principles. But now Adam failed upon kingdom principles. But now He said to Noah, no, please don't go back there, because I entrusted you with the kingdom mandate. That is why at the end of the day, when Noah went back to the ground, he found himself naked. And when you are naked, everybody will see you. And everybody, you'll be exposed even to the vultures. And immediately when you're exposed to vultures, they will manipulate you, they will destroy you with what God has entrusted in you. And then this is the problem. I know this is a dialogue, it's not a preaching, but I feel that we needed to just to outline it and outline it, because I feel that God has given us more. But now, because we are not sure of what we have, and then we have the limitations start with our mindset. Our mindset will say, no, yes, God has given us, but we needed to connect. But immediately when you start to connect, who are you connecting? Is he inside the kingdom? Will he understand the principles of the kingdom? Is he or she not make you to be naked again? And when you are naked again, you're exposed. And when you're exposed, we see the vulnerability. And when we are vulnerable, we cannot think well. So that's why I'm saying, now, God has given us GY Holdings. And I believe that this is what God has establishing it in the kingdom. And then when it comes here, it comes as a kingdom economics. And when the kingdom economics comes, it comes to do what? To fulfill. Correct. This is the mandate. It's just to fulfill the mandate. Be wise. Whom are you giving the visionary purpose of the kingdom? And then don't mingle around with people that will drain you. After draining you, and then they will push you away once God has given you these principles. Amen.
Yes, Maruti.
I'm sorry to preach,
Yes,
but
Maruti.
I needed just to explain what my father was giving me
Preach,
in
Maruti,
a second.
Yes, preach, Maruti. It's a conversation.
It's a conversation.
It's a conversation.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
When we look at the book of Genesis 2:8, God says, "Let us make man in our image,
Yes.
after our likeness."
Yes.
We have been created in the image of God. We are like God.
Yes.
Now look at it. When God created Adam, creating him out of Adam, he was not creating Adam inside Adam. Because when you are created inside Adam, Adam will understand you because you are from it. That's why Jesus said, the prophet cannot be respected of. Now, Adam had to be made out of Adam so that he can be able to take charge in Adam, to control what is in Adam, so that what is in Adam must not be familiar to him, but he must be familiar to Adam, not Adam being familiar to. Now, when we look at the principle, he was given that you mustn't eat. That is the principle that was given to Adam. As long as you follow this principle, now you are going to live in abundance. Whatever you ask for shall be given to you.
Amen.
Right?
Amen.
Now, the problem with us here is when we go to worship. God created a human being on earth to have what? A fellowship with, to worship him. Look at it. It said in daytime God will come and visit Adam and earth. By the time he came in the afternoon, after Eve ate and after they fought, the Bible says Adam said, I hid myself because I heard you moving in the garden. Now, he said, and I found myself naked. The problem is, as I quote Apostle Jerusalem, you have a mandate, you have a product, but because of lack, you give it to the vulture. You expose yourself to the vultures. You are vulnerable. You have a product. As Christians, we have a product, but because of vulnerability, we expose ourselves to the world. Then a world overtook us. Look at it. In the mountain, Jesus fasted 40 days and nights.
Right.
Then the devil came and said, if. You see, the if part of it is if you can bow down, if you can worship. And then worship, the W part of worship means willingness. So there is no one who is forcing us to worship God or worship the devil. You do it willingly. So if you are willing to worship what you worship, and automatically when you worship what you worship, you become automatically and exceedingly like it. Look at it. If you worship God, you become like God. In the book of Revelation 5:10, it says, we reign here on earth
Right.
as the kings and the priests.
Right. Right.
Jesus Christ is the King of kings. Now we look at it. Who are those kings? We are the kings.
Yes.
We are the priest,
Yes.
the royal priesthood.
Yes.
Now, the earth or the system of the world, whom is claimed to be owned by the devil himself, he will show you things of this earth, the splendors of this earth. And he said, if you are willing, worship me and I will give you this. He shows you the Garden of Eden. I say, I will give you this if you worship me. Whereas we have been given in the first time, in the origin, our origin was originated from being the rulers or have authority upon the garden, which is the earth. So the devil came and stole what belonged to us, because the enemy came to what? To steal, to kill and to destroy. But Jesus, who is our King, came to restore back what has been stolen by the devil himself. So when we look at GY Holdings, personally I believe this is the answer to all the Christians. We have been oppressed in Egypt. This is the time now we need to move out of Egypt and go to the promised land. So the way to the promised land, it has principle. Look at it. Moses, go before Pharaoh and tell him to release my people. Because I want you to go and do what? And sacrifice for me or take a journey for 3 days. Right? It's a principle. Before you go, kill a lamb and apply the blood of the lamb upon the doors and eat the meat of the lamb standing on your feet with your sandals on your feet ready to take a journey. It's a principle. So every blessing comes with a principle. Abraham moved out of your land, your country and your men, and I will bless you in the land that I will show you. It's a principle. Sure.
Amen. Amen.
God uses you. When God uses you, He will separate you.
Amen.
He will give you a family. He will give you a product. He will give you a mandate and show you all those things in the wilderness, in the separate room. And then when you come and present it, it shall be taken by those who are wise. Those who are wise, they will take it.
Hallelujah.
Jericho, when it was, the Jerusalem, the walls of Jerusalem, when they were restored, Sanballat and Tobiah came into the picture, and they decided to, they started to despise what is being done by the Israelites. What do they think they are doing? These mere people, what do they think they are doing? It's what is going to happen to us. Yes, they are going to despise us because they will realize they've already searched it that this is a dynamite, and by the time it explodes, we are all going to be destroyed. So they are going to discourage and despise it because we are doing the right thing. This is the right thing. This is a blessing. This is the answer that comes from above.
Amen.
Hallelujah.
Amen.
Thank
Amen.
you. GY Holdings is an answer to the nations of God.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Okay. Can I add something on what Bishop Nkosi has just said?
Yes.
Because one thing that I understand very well is when the devil comes and steals, like for instance when you said that now, when the devil was coming in and then wanted to tempt Jesus, the only thing that he wanted the authority that Jesus has.
Yes.
And taking it with a wink of an eye, sort of a split. But now what I'm learning is he competed with Jesus long time ago, and then he was defeated. But now he wanted to take it when he said to Jesus, "No, okay, and then you can, if you are hungry, take the stones and change it into bread." But he realized whom is he talking with, and then he said, "No, when you are just there up the mountain, you throw yourself down, and the angels will come and do and whatever, just connect to you." Lord, I learned something that now in terms of authority, the only mistake that we're doing is shifting the authority. And Jesus wanted to show the devil that now, and he was very wise. He will never say to him that now I've defeated you, and then it has been written, is what he said. But now what I'm learning is the co-head in terms of the leadership. Right. If Jesus could bow within a second, now the devil will take over the land completely and take the kingdom mandate. That is why when we go back and look at what God has said to the Israelites when he gave them manna, he said to them, "I'm putting manna on the outside. I'm not bringing the manna inside the tent. I'm putting the manna just outside the tent. What you needed to do is to stretch out and collect the manna." But now the mistake is, immediately when the manna arrived, everybody was saying, "What is this?" And I'm not surprised when we collectively as a team, as GY, when we continue and reaching out the world, we know that people will say, "What is this?" And secondly, people will criticize whatever anything we're coming out with, because so many people came with the kingdom principles, but they fail along the way. I was saying to another guy, was saying to me, "What you coming with, it's something new, but will it stand?" I said, "No. You see, the only thing is that when God gives the mandate, what matters is how do you grasp the mandate." Right. It's one very, very important. One is you can have it, communicate, but the way you communicating it, do you communicate it for the legacy? Do you communicate it for better life? Do you communicate it for elevation? It's what matters. And the only way that we can believe God in terms of these principles is when we reach out, we believe. Right. When we reach out, we believe that God is part of us reaching out, and there is a blessing in reaching out. That is why they were able to live with what they have connected. Right. But if they will say, "What is this?" they will leave and they will never eat. And then we'll have the consequences that now, because manna was supposed to last only for a day. But then when God gives you the mandate and say, "This is the mandate," it comes with the principles. Immediately, if you don't grasp what God has given you, immediately when it passes by, you'll always cry and say, "Eish, if it was." The time will be passing. So I always say, let's go out and reach out, and the principles we have, the mandate we have, then God will sustain us.
Yes.
Then second, now it's time that this manna is just on the outside, but now the ability to collect it is with power. Right. So that I can live with my children tomorrow. Because I believe this God. Oh yes. And I trust this God. Hallelujah. Because of really companies came and whatever came. But what God has given us sustain us even today. Yes. Even tomorrow. Even forevermore. I was just showing Murutura in one verse here. Right. In the book of Ecclesiastes. Yes. Right. I'm trying to just to explain it a little bit so that because my battery is a little bit flat, but I trust that the Lord is going to give us grace. Amen. So that we can just understand. Just go into chapter 5 of the book of Ecclesiastes. So that we can just understand, especially in terms of the principles from verse 12, Ecclesiastes chapter 5. If my battery can give me grace, it's going to be better. Hallelujah. If you can just give me grace, yeah, better. Your version. Yes, let's just start from 12, yes, 12. If you can just read your version, leave to better for us.
The sleep of a laboring man is sweet, whether he eat little or much. but the abundance of the rich will not suffer him to sleep.
Amen.
And then now, verse 13, Ruth again, there is a grievous.
There is a sore evil which I have seen under the sun, namely, riches kept for the owners thereof tore their hurt.
And verse 14, those riches perish by
But those riches perish by evil travail. And he begat a son, and there is nothing is in his hands.
hands, the inheritance. You see, God will never give us the riches that will come in the morning like a snow, then it ends.
Right.
Now I want to say to people that in Kingdom Mandate, in Kingdom Principles, we don't aim to be rich. We are already, we are rich in Him.
Yes.
And now we are just fulfilling
Oh, yes.
what He has given us. That is why we don't have hassles.
Right.
When God gives us the manna, we appreciate.
Oh, yes.
It doesn't matter how big and how small is the manna, but can I live for tomorrow?
Yes.
It's that's the God's principles. And then I cannot have the riches that will make me not to sleep.
Yeah,
How about
no.
No, I don't want to preach.
Amen.
Because I-
Amen.
I
Amen.
can
Amen.
go on, I can go on and on and on.
Let the Spirit
Amen.
Spirit of God speak. Right.
I'm okay.
Okay.
No, we are very humbled. This, as rightful says so, Ruth, that it is it's a challenge that we need to face it. Yet we face it with confidence that we have overcome. You know, the nice things when you go to the battle, it's going there knowing that the victory is yours. It doesn't matter the casualties that it may be in the process, the injuries and this, but the victory, it's guaranteed. So this is the kind of the battle that we have embarked on. It's a battle. But God has foretold us, it's not ours, it's His. So ours is to go there, as He says, to Jehoshaphat. Go there in the morning, and you will find them there. But the battle is mine. But don't stay behind. Because the only way I can get the glory upon you is when you present, when you show up. And I will do what I will do. But the glory, oh shit. Because if I say stay behind, they will not connect the victory with you and me. So there must be a connection. That in actually, your God, it's alive. Your God, it's a real God. So that they can come to know your God and worship Him. Because they need to see the works of God in you. He says, go there and present. You will see, you will find them there. But the battle is mine. You don't need to fight. Now the question is that you are facing these guys. They are armed. They are free as 3 nations coming against you. He says, no, go. And I'm not going to make them run away. We'll find them there. But in order for me to be glorified in you, you need to present yourself. And I will do my things. And they will know that your God is the true God. So when God called us into this, we knew that we were facing a real battle, because the one who have stolen from us is not going to hand over easily. It's not going to be easily say, take it. He will wage a war in trying to protect and to preserve that which is stolen. But God, He says, go forth and go and present yourself there. Because you don't need to fight. He says, I will fight for you. So the comfort we have here is that surely this is a war against those who have stolen and continue to steal and destroy our God-given resources. So we have waged a war. But it's not a battle that we need to be afraid of. Because the one who called us has already won it. But He needs you and I to go forth and present ourselves to Pharaoh. He says, let my people go. It needs you and I to go and say, we are going to rebuild these walls. And the Sanballat, as Murudi says, and the Tobias, they say, what do you think we are, Nehemiah? But the battle is not ours. It's His. Now, let's look at this. We are now unpacking this. How do we take possession of our God-given resources? How? Because Christ has shed the blood more than enough. We need not to shed any drop of blood. The blood of Jesus, it's more than enough. By shedding His blood, He cancelled the power of the thief. And He went to the grave to bury his filthy tricks, in which he keep on saying, if you willing, if you willing. So his if has no authority at all. So we're not going to use guns to repossess that which is ours. We don't need any bloodshed anymore. We need to take it peacefully without shedding of any blood. And we don't need the gimmicks. All we need is to apply kingdom principles. That's all. When we apply kingdom principles, the thief will hand over peacefully. Whether he's aware that he actually is handing over or is not aware, that is, it's not our issue. All we know is that when we apply God's kingdom principles, He is going to hand over peacefully without any shed of blood. Now, in the Gospel according to Matthew 14th chapter, verse 13, this is very interesting. Matthew 14 verse 13, he reads as follows. When Jesus heard it, what Jesus heard? It was when John the Baptist was put in prison and was beheaded. Then Jesus, he received the news that John has been beheaded. He departed from there by the boat and to a deserted place by himself. But when the multitude heard it, they followed him on foot. from the cities. And when Jesus went out, saw a great multitude, and he was moved with compassion for them. And he healed the sick. And indeed, he ministered to them. These are the people who believed that Jesus is the solution of all their challenges. Having ministered to them on the other side, and when Jesus now said to his disciples, let's go to a deserted place so that we can have time, because it's too busy here. We don't even have time as people keep come and go. Let's go to a deserted place so that at least we can have time to refresh, have a conversation with God. The people who believed without a doubt that Jesus is the solution, they says, it's fine, Booty, get in your boat, but Tinasi Awayazama shortcut. And they took the shortcut. And they were there before him. As he landed there, already they are waiting for him. Says Jacob, he said, I will never leave you until you bless me. Say, then when he come out of the boat, he looked at them. He was moved with compassion. And he began to minister to them again. Now, I want us to look at this, Baruti, because the biggest challenge that the body of Christ is having today, it did not start with us. It started with the apostles. And this is what needs to be corrected. Because when we then can understand this principle, I can speak without any shade of doubt that the thief will hand over peacefully. Now, verse 15, he says, when it was evening, his disciples came to him saying, Hey, Master, this is a deserted place, and the hour is already late. I want to now. Show nearly long. And we say gangen la. It's bushes here. There's no shops. There's nothing. He said, send these people away, that they may go to the surrounding town and look for food for themselves. You see, that is a challenge I feel like I can stand, because here you have got people who believed in Jesus and his team as the solution. They have been following him to the point even when he and his disciples, they wanted a smaller corner where they could have at least a moment. They says, no, we can't leave you. You can't run away from us because you are the only solution. They made the means to get there. Jesus being graciously, when he come out and then he look at them, filled with grace and truth, begin to minister to them. Now, as he ministered to them, earlier on we spoke about the limitation. That here you have got this great vision and ideas. You know what needs to be done, but there are limitations. And these limitations happen to be the financial resources in many instances, where you you find yourself unable to carry out this because of the limitations. But this is what happened with the disciples. That thinking, that mentality of limitations, that we have got limited resources, it's what the disciple had. Because they looked in their bank account. They went to Judas. Our treasure, how much you have? He says, only 200 denaries. What is this? It's too little. We have got more than 5,000 men.
Men, not women.
Not without even counting women and children. So that number could be 3 times or even 4 times more. With 200 denaries, what do you think you can do? And they ask themselves, hey bafethu, ngiyabona manje kunzima. And it's late now, and this is a desert. Masimtshele lo abahambisi. Tell them to go and see for themselves. In other words, those who may have means to get in the next town and they have got something and they find that there's a shop there or cafe or spaza shop, they might be fortunate to get something. But those who may not, it means that it's their own problem. That's what they were saying. Yes. It must not be our problem. Send them, please. Because otherwise it's going to be our problem.
Okay.
Limitations. Yeah. But those limitations had nothing to do with their pockets, had to do with their thinking. Because they looked at their own squama, thinking, what are we going to do with this? But that's not how God operates. The kingdom principles does not operate on the basis of your bank account or his bank account. It operates on the basis of his abundance.
Yes.
So when he sends people to us, he does not say that you must feed them. No. We are not the creator. We can't create even a thing for ourselves. How would God send people for us? We are not the provider. The Bible says that he is the provider. He alone supplies all our needs according to his riches and glory. So when he sends the multitude with all kinds of challenges, he doesn't say that we must address that on our own ability. But he says, like Moses, I have made you God before Pharaoh. It has nothing to do with your kwakwara. It has to do with me in you before Pharaoh. So Jesus, he turns to them and says, Nina, I understand. You don't need to send them away. That's what my Bible says here in verse 16. He says, no, they don't need to go away. People have come to the kingdom platform to be cared for, to be supplied. Not only with spiritual needs, but physical and otherwise. Because the kingdom of God, as we have seen in the garden, is a kingdom of abundance. Abounds in all, with all, for all. So when people have believed in the kingdom and they've come for solution, then the church today, like the disciple, they looked at their squama. It says, our bank balance, it cannot send them away. So we send them back to the world, to the thieves. And they get devoured more.
More. Ah, yeah. Sure.
That's the biggest challenge the church is having today. We look at our own squam. 200 denarii, what is that? But Jesus, he painted a critical aspect here to say from now on going forward, when God sends people, his people to you, you must provide a solution, but not you on your own personal capacity, but you as God's conduit of God's grace. All you need is to stretch out your hand to say, God, here I am. Let it flow so that they can receive. It has nothing to do with us. We are sitting here on the manifest of this kingdom principle, sustainable socio-economic enterprise platform. It has nothing to do with Lucas' ability or any of GY's partners. It has to do with God's ability to make use of this platform to supply the needs of everyone who come to this platform, believing that he is the source. So, bazalwane, that limitation of saying, I don't have enough, it's crippling the body of Christ, which it end up as taking that option of the will. If you will worship me, I will give half, I will give that, I will give. So we deliberately, willingly worshiping the thief because we allowed the limitations not to see God's ability to supply through us. God would not reveal a vision without making provisions. When God revealed this vision to us some 5 years back, if I had time to explain and unpack what social state I was, you would understand that I would have not said no. Oh yes. Because I would have said, no, this God is playing games with me. He knows the state I am, but he gives me this kind of a vision. How you think I can carry this? But I want to believe that by God's grace, I understood the principle that this has nothing to do with my personal ability. But all he needed in me, it was to avail myself as a conduit. He already knew that he have made provisions for this great vision to manifest. So we can no longer send God's people back to the world when they have come to us as God's conduit for solution. God says we must give them what they need in the kingdom. At the time when they come forth, we may not see that actually we are sitting in the well of waters like Hagar and Ishmael. When she was blindfolded with this anger, distress of being thrown away with this little boy with nothing, she go there and sit next to the well, but she can't see it. To the point that scoop of water is finished. Ishmael is thirsty. But she's sitting next to the well, but she can't see because she's blindfolded by distress, by limitation. Because she only saw life in Abraham's household. She forgot the promises that God has made when she was running away from Sarah. He says, I will make Ishmael a great nation too. All those promises has now she leaves. I don't want to see the boy dying.
Yes.
I want to see her dying. Because in her limitation, Ishmael, it's dead. There's no other way. In the desert, no water, no bread, no nothing. Ishmael is dead. She said, I don't want to see him breathing the last. There was no hope. I would rather go and sit somewhere far away. So that when he breathes the last, I don't see him. It's paining him. But God, he says, hey guy, I heard the voice of the boy. Not your, because I heard the voice of the boy. It doesn't say I heard your voice. Because Haggai was not praying and seeking God's guidance. He was despairing. So that's the challenge when we find ourselves in a situation like the disciples. As opposed to lift our eyes and say, God, here are the people who need solution. Use me. We say, no, send them away. Deceive the fence themselves. So Haggai was in that situation. As opposed to say, God, what do I do? Here I am. She locked herself. But the boy was praying. The boy was praying. His prayer, God heard it. He says, I heard the cry of the boy. He says, go and take the boy. And as she goes and picks up them, when she turns up, her eyes, she sees the well. Oh, Hibana. Kante amanza khona lamus. When did God dug the well? Before Haggai came there, that well was there. God led her in that very place because he knew that the provisions are already made available.
Yes.
Just like Abraham when he went to the mountain of Moriah to worship him. The lamb was already there before even he gets there. So, what it makes us to see the limitation is the blindness of the worldly approach towards life as opposed to the kingdom way of life. In our distress, when you stand Muruti before your congregation every day, there are this one, Muruti, pray for me, Vanako Skolong, pray for me. That it takes away the focus from you now. Say, God, you are one of us. These are your children. So provide. They came here for provisions. Provide.
Yes.
Then we say, oh, we pray for them, say they must go back. They will say, Sister Snadazanama CV, must go there. They go and look for the job. In the world. So Tumela back to the world. But Jesus says, no, it should not be like that.
Yeah.
We, because they've come to us, we must avail ourselves. That is all we need to avail ourselves as a conduit. God, who is the supplier, who is the provider, through us will make sure that the resources are made available. So the platform in which we are here for tonight, it has nothing to do with what this platform has, but it has to do with what God has. So we sitting here having partake in this platform, we are just like the disciples in the platform Jesus has set up to say, go and see how many loaves are here. And when they go, they find that it was not within the disciple, but it was in the very same community that it was a burden for the disciple. That all that they needed, it was those 5 loaves from the very same people who are a burden. in order to supply for everyone in abundance. So sometimes we fail to see God's provisions in the people who appear to us as a burden. So if we can only look a little further in the eye of the kingdom principles, we will actually realize that the solution, it lies within the very same people. All we need is to be that conduit. And God working in us, He will make it a point that everyone has more than enough. Amen.
Are we able to add or
Yes, Moro. This is a conversation.
One thing, Muru, that I really wanted to appreciate is the fact that the Holy Spirit is leading us in this vehicle for us to begin to see God's side well. And we appreciate every move that God has done into our life. But now I've learned some few things in the Bible. In the time of Elijah, and when we look back, we have also the Elisha there, we have whoever there. There was a woman who was called Jezebel, and her mandate was only to kill what God has established. And then he was looking for a man of God and saying, okay, I've killed all the prophets. And she thought that all prophets are killed. But, and then also even Elijah, in his mind, and when he was also in the wilderness, and said to God, no, I'm the only one who left. And so God said, no, you are not the one. No, you are not the only one.
Yes.
And there are some other ones that have just kept them. And when you thought that you are the only one who left. So I've always said to many people, I say that now, the spirit of this woman, it progresses also to my surprise, because when we look back to King Solomon in the Bible, just a little bit, he was having all the wisdom that God has given him. But people, they thought that he was managing the kingdom. No, he was not managing the kingdom, because of really, he has so many, he has more than 700 wives. And then just more than 8 years, and also concubines. 300 years. But now, and everybody wanted him to serve their gods. That was a problem. And according to the Bible, when we look back, it says now, inside the kingdom itself, when you go to the outside kingdom, we saw, the Bible was talking about, there was a 6 lion on the left, and there was a 6 lion on the right. And then, to my surprise, when we go back to the kingdom mandate, God was no longer being exalted, but now we were serving other kingdoms of discourse, of these women. That is why all the times when we look back, and the people that don't understand that the concept of this thing of 666 and the likes, where it is going to come from, and then people that never knew and understand what's going to happen. That is why when we look back in the Bible, the only way that John was killed, when you look back and read it again, it talks about the spirit of Jezebel that wanted to kill Elijah was upon the woman who was killing who? John.
Yeah.
It progresses, Muru. It progresses because of really, it started from Elijah, it's going back to John, but nobody understood.
Right.
That is why Jesus, when they said no, give him the news that no, John has been killed. You see, and then he was not shivering to say, no, because he knew that the spirit of Jezebel is progressing to the spirit. You see, and then that's why it kills this woman, so this man of God. And then one thing that I know is everything that God has established in terms of kingdom principles. All the times, others will come watching, and others will come criticizing, and others will come killing. And all the times, I pray to my God that He He may just give you a sign, because of really all can come, but when Jezebel comes with the spirit, we'll never understand. Until such time, we go back to the Father and said, you have given us the principle. Let us run with the principle. And then let us make sure that people understand. Because of really, out of the distress, we make a lot of mistakes. We give in a lot of mistakes. I pray to God that the spirit of Jezebel will never reign us in any other ways, because their purpose it is to come with a good heart, but end of the day the motive is not right. And when the motive is not right, then God will never be exalted. And then I learned something, as man of God, throughout the journey. Like for instance, there was a prophet of God, I should think it's in Shunem. And then the Bible says now, the woman said to Elijah, no, my husband, your servant. He said that my husband, your servant, is dead, but now the creditors are here to collect my child so that he can serve the rest of their lives. But now, to my surprise, the Bible says, when the prophet speaks with the woman, he said, no, what do you have? What do you have? He doesn't speak about many things. What do you have?
That which it may appear to be little.
Yeah.
And insignificant in his eyes.
Because when you look at it, because of when he said he wanted to check in terms of practical terms, he said no. He said no. I've got only the little, the little oil and the little flour. After we ate with my child, then we'll die. But now it comes to a point, Muruti, where I was saying to myself that is this woman was she looking at the God whom she's serving? Is she believing in this God? Is this trusting this God? But the mistake is, Muruti, was the wife of the prophet. But now, being the wife of the prophet, they walk with God. But now, the prophet makes so many mistakes because of the distress. Had to borrow money in distress. You see, had to run away in distress. You see, because he wanted to have a living. And then he was having the living and believing God, but at the end of the day, not having the mandate. You see, when you have a mandate, you say, God, you will sustain me beyond. You will sustain me beyond, because of really, God will take you from one level to the other. That's why those men, when they started opening the roof, they were opening it before they believed before. And they walked in before. And then it was only love. When we have the love, we are able to go more than what we are expecting, believing in more than what we're expecting. You cannot be in the kingdom mandate without love.
Hallelujah.
You cannot. I'm telling you, man of God, you cannot progress without love. If love cannot lead us, I'm telling you, we will always complain and twirl around and go back to the soil. And then the soil that God has cast. God has cast that soil. That is why he wanted to start a generation with Noah and said, no, don't go back to the ground. No, don't twirl back to the ground, because I have a mandate in the kingdom principles. Go with it. Then you shall be.
Amen. Amen. You know, in that, Muruti, I thank God that Jesus knew and foretold what it's likely to be or what it's likely to happen. You know, after sending the 70, giving them missions, they go and do whatever they've done it successfully so, coming back so energetic, you know, enthusiasm, encouraged. They say, you know, we have healed the sick, we cured these, they cast out demons, and they say, hey, the spirits are subject to us in your name. So in them there was even that now pride. Even the spirit, they subject us in your name, which was true, it's fine. But Jesus responds, he says, I saw Satan falling like lightning. He cautioned them. Then don't be so much excited and overtaken by the subjection of the spirits under you and the ability to cure the sick and cast out demons. Because the great dragon, the devil, the deceiver and the accuser of our brothers, has fallen like lightning. He saw him, and that was when in the Revelations 12:7 he says that when the war broke in heaven, Satan and his angel fought with Michael and his angel, and he could not prevail. He was defeated and was thrown on earth because there was found no more place for him in heaven. And he fell with the multitude of those who believed him, his angel. That's why Jesus said, I saw him falling like lightning. But he goes further, he says in 19, behold, I give you authority to trample on serpents and scorpions and over all the power of the enemy. He says, and nothing shall by any means hurt you. Now, the term I give you is in a present tense, it's in a passive tense. Sorry. Every now and again you need my grace, I give it to you. It's not to give you a bag full of grace that you look to say, hey, it can only take me to that end. I give you now. You need it now, I give you now. You encounter a challenge now, I give you. When you move from here, you encounter another challenge, I give you. So it's in a passive tense that every now and again, wherever and whenever we encounter any need, any challenge, he says, I give you authority to overcome. Yes, he's here, the devil, and he will try because Leonard, he knows that his time is limited. So he's so arrogant, he's so, he wants to do as much harm as he can in this little moment. But he says that I give you authority. So long we keep the principles of your kingdom, the authority to overcome at any given point, it's guaranteed. But the moment we shift from the kingdom principles, we are on our own. And that's where now the Jezebel will find an opportunity to kill it. But so long we, in the kingdom principle, you say, I give you authority. I give you authority.
I have no